right, everyone, thank you so much for being here and joining us today. I'm going to send a message in the chat, but feel free to introduce yourselves by sharing your name, where you call home, as well as either your student's major or one thing you're excited for your student to experience here at Temple. And we'll get started in just about 2 minutes here. But again, if you're just joining us, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I know this is lunchtime for a lot of folks, so we really appreciate you being here. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat by sharing your name, where you're joining us from, as well as one thing you're excited for your student to experience here, or your student's major, so we can learn a little bit more about y'all. But again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll get started in just about a minute. All right, and if you're just joining us now, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat by sharing your name, where you're joining us from, as well as one thing you're excited for your student to experience here or your student's major, so we can learn a little bit more about who's joining us today. I always love seeing where everyone's coming in from. We get some interesting places. It's always so exciting. And again, if you're just joining us now, thank you all so much for being here. We truly appreciate it, and we're excited to share all this information with you in just a couple minutes. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat by sharing your name, where you're joining us from, as well as your student's major or one thing you're excited for your student to experience. It looks like we have somebody from Queens. I'm from New York. I was born in Philly, but welcome in today. And we have advertising as the major. That's super exciting. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to get started in just about a minute here, but thank you all so much for joining us again. Feel free to continue to introduce yourselves in the chat by sharing your name, where you're joining us from, as well as one thing you're excited for your student to experience or your student's major. Looks like we have somebody from the Dominican Republic, but currently living in Harrisburg. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you here. Chicago, got a psych major and an art minor. It's exciting when they already have their minors picked out too. And Austin, Texas. Wow, thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to get started here, but feel free to continue to introduce yourselves. We love to hear where everyone's coming in from and all the different majors your students have. All right, but hello and welcome to the Parent and Family Orientation on Student Success, Advocacy, and Support webinar. My name is Emily. I'm the summer graduate intern for the Office of New Student and Family Programs here at Temple University. We're so glad that y'all decided to join us today. We would love to hear more about everyone who's with us, so please continue to introduce yourself in the chat. Include your name and where you're from so we know who's joining us today. We have enabled closed captions for this session, and to view those captions, please select Captions, then click Show Captions. This session will be recorded, and the slides and links will be shared after today on the Parent and Family Orientation Hub. Today's panel features representatives of the CARE team, the Office of the Dean of Students, and the Essential Needs Hub. These offices play an important role in supporting students' overall well-being by connecting them to resources that promote their physical, mental, emotional, and basic needs. Following the presentation, we'll open the floor for a Q&A session for the remainder of our time together. We'll get started with our presentations and our Q&A in just a moment, but there are a few announcements that I'd like to share first. You have likely noticed that your audio and video are muted. You can see and hear us, but we cannot see and hear you. So please submit your questions by using the Q&A feature. To do so, click the Q&A button to open the window, then type your question in the text field. If you want your question to be anonymous, check the Send Anonymously checkbox and then click Send. Your question will not be viewable to the rest of the participants until after it has been answered. We will also share helpful links in the chat, so please feel free to keep your chat open throughout the webinar. We'll do our very best to answer as many questions as we can today, but if we're unable to answer all of the questions, we'll also provide contact information at the end for you to follow up with the appropriate campus partner for your specific question. If you have any questions related to other offices, we've likely already done a webinar with them, so if you'd like to go to the Parent Family Experience portal to check out those other webinars, feel free, and we have one more webinar coming up, which we'll share at the end. All right, we're ready for our panelists to begin their presentations.
Excellent. Thanks, Emily. Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Darian Davenport. I currently serve as the Associate Vice President and Dean of Students here at Temple University, and just want to thank all of you today for the gift of time and space that you are sharing with us as we talk a little bit more about the work that we do with students here at Temple University. To really start us off, to ground our discussion today, One thing you'll see here is the title of the institution's strategic plan, Forward with Purpose, which was unveiled earlier this year and is really positioned and has a keystone in student success. So when you think about the work that we do, whether it's in academic or non-academic space and how that ties together or how it's tethered for the support and success of your students, the Forward with Purpose strategic plan really is the driver for the work that we all do here at Temple University. So we will spend some time today digging a little bit into that with our respective areas. But welcome. And special shout out as someone who splits his time from Harrisburg and Philly. Special shout out to the person that acknowledged Harrisburg in the chat. So we can go ahead and get to the next slide, please. All right. So again, I am the Dean of Students representing the Office of the Dean of Students, and I'll get in a little bit to what we do. It's probably more vast than I'll be able to explain in the time that I have to share today. But definitely want to make sure that you all walk away realizing that our office is a resource for your students. Next slide, please. So our office is located in Suite 304 in the Student Center. Shout out to Bucks County. That's right, Carrie. In Suite 304 in the Student Center here at Temple University. For those who may have been to the space or been to the Student Center already, it's 2 floors above where the food court is. We are staffed by myself, Dr. Carrie Snyder, who is Assistant Dean of Students, and we also have our Senior Coordinator for Operations, Kia Beckett. The offices that fall under the Dean of Student structure include Student Conduct and Community Standards, um, our Office of Disability Resources and Services, and the Care Team, which you'll hear a little bit more about later on today. The Dean of Students Office does do some programming for students. There's a method to the madness there. We want to make sure that students feel like we are a resource and a place where they can come and not reflective of maybe how they would look at a dean of students in a high school setting. I'll tell you, folks, to be honest with you, last year during the weeks of welcome, I had a student literally run away from me because she thought she was going to be in trouble by just having a conversation with me. So we try to dispel the myth that the dean of students is just an office relative to conduct. Even though we do work with conduct, we want to make sure that students know that there are a lot of great programs. For instance, we have an adult awards and scholarship program here that we do every spring for students to be able to provide them support. We also have various Meet the Dean of Students events and Dean of Students office so they can get a little bit more comfortable with who the staff are. The big piece for us is making sure that students know that we are visible, we're accessible, and if they need the support or the guidance or the development that they need, that we're there to be able to provide them with that, and they don't feel like we are not accessible. The one thing I do want to focus on is you look at the who we are and what we do and really look at the mission as far as our ability to engage, develop, and retain Temple University students. Really is underwritten by the notion that, first of all, we do not do this work in a silo or monolithically. The power in the work that we do is through the partnerships that we do have here at Temple University. So whether that comes through student financial services, I know earlier some folks may have been exposed to Ideal, our partnership with academic affairs, campus safety, wellness resource center, or Tubman Counseling Center. A lot of the work that we do is tied to the work and how we collaborate with other areas here at Temple University. We pride ourselves on the ability of saying, okay, if we don't have the answer, we can definitely go out and get the answer. And I'll tell you, folks, one of the things I've been here for almost 2 years. One of the things I think is really beautiful about Temple is for a larger institution, how relational it is. I can pick up the phone, I can make a phone call, and they won't answer and say, who is this on the other line, right? Like we make these connections, we create this web of support, or in a Temple way, this nest of support for students to make sure that they get what they need as they navigate the campus here. We also serve really as a conduit for various student matters, academic and both non-academic. Again, working to try to either be a resource or get the resources or connect students to the resources that they need. A lot of our work is also focused on crisis management. So we do crises do happen here at Temple University. We work with our campus partners, whether that's Tuttleman or Care Team or Campus Safety / TUPD, to help students navigate crises that they may have. You're going to hear again later from our Essential Needs Hub. There are things that we work with ENH with to make sure that students get the support that they need to make sure that they again can navigate this space of Temple University. Our work also spans globally. Folks may know, but we do have campuses in, Rome, Italy. We have campuses in Japan, Ambler. We have campus downtown for podiatry. We have a health sciences campus that is north of here. We have our Ambler campus. So a lot of the work that we do connects to other campuses here. We want to make sure that ultimately, regardless of where a Temple student chooses to pursue their education, that they feel that Temple connection, they feel that Temple support. They make sure that there is a consistent through line to what is happening here at Temple University. Oh, I almost forgot. Temple Harrisburg too. Look, I'm gonna get in trouble for that. The folks so shout out to Temple Harrisburg. But we have campuses. Again, we want to make sure that folks feel like an owl no matter where they are taking classes here or no matter where they engage. We also work with students, and this leans into a bit of the student conduct piece, but beyond that, is just working with students and educating them about healthy behaviors, healthy habits, different things like that. We work with all of you in partnership to make sure that those things are happening. We do have a student code of conduct, that we present to students for them from a behavioral standpoint and expectations that we have as far as what it means to be an owl here. But again, we want to make sure that those create a foundation for their success at Temple University. And the last thing I'll say is just this concept of community, and you will hear that later on with my colleagues. It will ring true. It's just this spirit of community that we try to bring here at Temple University, making a place that is large feel small in that way, and making sure that students do feel like that they're getting the support, engagement, and development that they need, so that they do retain well and persist for the ultimate goal of them graduating. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to one of my phenomenal colleagues, Dr. Deanne DiCrescenzo. Deanne?
Thank you so much, Darian. So we really acknowledge that for some of our students, there are barriers for their ability to get engaged and get involved on campus. So I'm thrilled to share more about this new resource available to campus, really aligning with the institutional commitment and mission to student success. So the Christopher and Julie Barnett Essential Needs Hub helps students navigate challenges that can affect student success by connecting them with different resources and support that they need to be successful and really to thrive, both inside and outside of the classroom. This is a new space we're opening just a few weeks away at the start of the semester. Will be located on the lower level of the Student Center. And the Essential Needs Hub offers access to things like food and hygiene products at our Cherry Pantry, clothing and essential items, off-campus housing support, and connections to additional campus and community resources. So I'm thinking specifically around helping students enroll in public benefits such as SNAP, connecting to different transportation benefits, so that we're really trying to reduce some of the barriers for students to be able to get to class and show up to class as their full selves. Um, we encourage students to access these resources whenever they need support during their Temple experience. It doesn't have to happen at the start of the semester, doesn't have to be their first year. And it might not even be for them. It might be that they have a peer or a roommate or a classmate that's not aware of the resources and services, and they're able to encourage them to kind of reach out and access them. So our goal really is to integrate all of these resources, around food, housing, clothing, transportation security, mental health support and well-being, case management, emergency and legal aid for Temple students within a framework that celebrates who these students are, celebrates their agency as students, and working hard to remove those systemic barriers that can prevent student success. We'll have a full space. We have almost 30,000 square feet of space. We're very excited to be able to show it off for students. There's a classroom in that space, so I'm hopeful that your students will come and engage with us. access resources and services, we're very excited. We just ordered for our health and well-being area, we have what's called the Resiliency Resource Center. We're working with Tuttleman Counseling Services, and part of that is helping students develop some of those skills to build that resilience. So that could be through art therapy, could be through biometric feedback screenings, but we'll also have full body massage chairs in the space. So if nothing else, we hope that your students will come and get a little massage while they're on campus. We're located intentionally in the center of campus so that it's accessible to students, and we'll also be open in the evenings 3 nights a week and one Saturday a month. So really working hard to remove some of those barriers that we know are in place for our students to be able to not only have the awareness of the resources, but the ability to access the resources and hopefully help them be successful academically. Part of our work is working with our fantastic care team, and my colleague, Dr. Carrie Snyder, is on the call, who can talk a little bit more about the care team.
Thanks, Deanne. So our care team is under the Dean of Students, but located within the Essential Needs Hub. And our care team consists of 2 case managers who work with students and receive referrals from basically anywhere. So we sometimes have students who refer themselves to the care team. Sometimes referrals come from friends or family members who may have a concern about a student. Often referrals will come from faculty members. So anybody who has a concern about a student can make a referral. And I believe on the next slide, it talks about what that would look like. So within the care team, we have the Assistant Dean of Students, which is me, and then our 2 care case managers. And basically, we work with students who have academic challenges, who are experiencing different types of concerns or crises. We will take referrals about students who maybe have been missing classes, students who have experienced a loss in the family and maybe need to take some time off from classes due to that. Students maybe who are experiencing a hospitalization and are going to miss classes. Maybe students who are going through just a tough, challenging time adjusting to being at college and being away from home. Or sometimes students, have some mental health issues that pop up when they're away. And we can work with them with that and refer them to our Tuttleman Counseling Center. If students are struggling with some other wellness issues, we can refer them to our Wellness Resource Center. So a lot of what the care team does is to connect students with resources on campus that they may not be aware of. And a lot of those resources exist in our Essential Needs Hub, but not all of them. So we may be assisting students who are struggling academically in connecting with our Student Success Center, which has tutoring. It offers peer-assisted study groups where students can get together with other peers and study. It offers foreign language conversation buddies so that students can practice speaking a foreign language that they're studying. It also has academic coaching that students can do once a week so that they can get together with somebody who can help them organize their time and figure out the best way to prepare for classes. The Student Success Center also has a writing center. So if students are struggling academically, maybe we'll make a referral there. If we see that students are maybe struggling with center. If students aren't quite sure how to communicate with their professors, we can talk to them about using office hours or how to communicate with professors. So there's a lot of different resources on campus that students aren't always aware of when they first come to Temple, and the care team can help connect them with that. If someone makes a referral to the care team, so if a family member were to reach out and make a referral to the care team, once we make the referral, we do let the referrer know that we have received the referral and that we have reached out to the student. Now, depending on FERPA, if the student has waived you, then we will be able to give you a little bit more information. But if they haven't, all we can do is let you know that we've received the referral and we'll be reaching out to the student. So how much information we can give depends on how much information your student has allowed us to give. We do meet weekly with our care team committee, which consists of members throughout the campus community, campus safety, disability resources and services, Telemann counseling, Title IX, our UHRL, which is our University Housing and Residential Life. We all get together and we will have discussions about students of concern to make sure that all of the resources that are available to the students are aware of what's going on and how we can assist that student. So that helps us to make sure that we're connecting the student to the proper resources and to make sure that if there's something going on with that student, for example, if they live in campus housing, and if there's been something that's been noticed in campus housing, or if the student has reached out to their RA, that we're aware that that's been happening. And so basically the care team is there whenever something comes up that could impact the student's overall well-being while they're at Temple. Also, if a student is hospitalized while they're at Temple, we will reach out to the emergency contact and let them know that in case the student hasn't had an opportunity to do that. Just to be aware, if someone makes a referral to the care team, we will reach out to the student, but the student is under no obligation to actually engage with the care team. So we can reach out to the student. Sometimes the student will just get back to us and say, I'm doing fine, I don't need any assistance. Sometimes they won't respond to us at all. So that is totally up to them. We do not conduct wellness checks. So if a student lives off campus and there's a concern about a student, if you would like to do a wellness check, that's when you would reach out to, if they live within the radius for campus safety, you can reach out to campus safety. If they live beyond that radius, then you would need to reach out to Philadelphia PD. And again, as mentioned, due to FERPA, depending on how they have set it up, if they've waived FERPA, we may be able to share a little bit more information with you, but if they haven't, then we're kind of limited in what we could share. And that's our care team. And I believe we've gotten to questions.
Yes. Thank you all so much. I know these resources are so valuable, and I'm so excited to hear some questions that folks have for you and help answer them. But it is time for our panelists to answer any questions that you all may have. So please post any questions that you have in the Q&A feature. It's going to be where you see a question mark at the bottom of your screen. So share those and we'll get them answered. But our first question is for Carrie. Can a student reach out to the care team without a referral?
Absolutely. A student can self-refer, but they can also always send an email to the care team if they have a question.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, our next question is for Darian. What are the most common reasons that students end up in the Dean of Students office, and how do you approach those situations as learning opportunities if those do arise?
Great question. Thank you. I'll tell you, I work with the span of students that might come to me and just managing some of these earlier students who might have some gaps as it relates to like financial aid. So I partner a lot with our student financial services, trying to figure out different ways to be able to get them the support that they need or the education they need to be able to fund their education. I have students that reach out to me if they might be dealing with something that is conduct related. Sometimes, could be something that's happened like a virtual post, or it could be something more serious. So I deal with that. And to be honest, I will have students pop in that might just need to talk about their college career. So and I encourage that. I will tell you, for students to be able to come to the office and meet face to face if that's comfortable for them. But it could be a litany of things. that students do reach out to. And I'll tell you kind of philosophically, as someone who I'd be lying if I told you I had the answers for every single thing here at Temple University. That's not it. But I have phenomenal colleagues across the universe. So if I don't have the answer, I really see myself as someone who tries to provide a hot lead to a different office or area or division to make sure that students get the help that they need. Even I have students that come up looking for jobs, as far as that employment. So how, so I work with career development. There's been times I had students that needed jobs and we hired them. So when I have the capacity to do it, we do it. So it could be a lot of different things. Again, for me, it's making sure that if I have the answer, I get it. But it's a broad spectrum, I will tell you. And I do encourage the students, and later on, you'll get the contact information for the office. When we do in parent sessions, I encourage folks to reach out to our Dean of Students office, whether it's by phone or by email, because we can't help what we don't know. So if there are things that we need, we try to help get folks to where they need to be, so they can get the support. But yeah, it's very broad. So thanks for the question, Emily.
Yeah. And I always tell people at orientation days, like Darian's office will respond to your emails. So feel free to shoot him any questions that y'all have. And that contact information will be at the end of the webinar. So thank you so much, Darian. All right, Deanne, our next question is for you. Are graduate students, commuter students, and international students eligible to use the Cherry Pantry?
Yes, absolutely. So the Cherry Pantry is our on-campus food pantry. Our mission really is to provide nutritious food and education to students. It's open to everyone in the Temple community, so including faculty, staff, adjunct faculty. As long as you have a TUID, you're able to access the resources in the space. And that goes for everything in the Essential Needs Hub. The pantry itself is a client choice pantry, which means the client, the visitor, the student, whether it's student, faculty, or staff, comes in and can choose what they'd like to take with them for that day. And you get a certain amount of points allocated per week. We work with the Healthy Pantry Initiative to make sure that we're really providing those nutritious building blocks for students and hopefully educating them a little bit about how to use them. I think one of the coolest partnerships that we have right now is with an organization based out of Philadelphia called Sharing Excess, and they do food rescue for produce. So we're able to have a lot of produce in the pantry. However, sometimes it's new for students, like maybe they've never cooked Brussels sprouts before or never had a dragon fruit before. So a lot of what we do is talk about how can you integrate this into your meal planning? What can you do? How can you prepare it so it's tasty and nutritious? But we're really excited just to see that grow. And certainly we love welcoming all of our students to the pantry, including our commuter students. We work really closely with International Student Affairs. We've done some cool workshops with them where we've brought in different spices that might be associated with different cultures or countries to think about how you could prepare the food that's available in the pantry to really meet your palate or meet your needs based on where home is for you.
Thank you so much. All right, our next question is for Carrie. What are some examples of situations when a parent should contact the care team?
That is a great question. A lot of parent contact that we have with the care team is when a student's behavior changes. So for example, if a student is becoming less communicative with a parent, if a parent notices maybe a student isn't going to classes as much as they have been, we get contacts from parents stating that they don't believe that a student has been eating as much. When they come home for break, maybe the student is just maybe a change in their mood or something like that. Those are all great times to contact the care team. If you know that your student has a mental health disability and you notice that there have been changes with that, that's a great time to reach out to the care team as well. If you notice they haven't been filling their prescriptions, that's a great time to reach out to us. So basically, it all goes back to that abrupt change in behavior is a really good one. Now, things are going to be different when your child goes away to college. Things are going to change. They're going to meet new people. They're going to start new routines. So you can expect some changes in behavior, but if they're abrupt and they're concerning, please reach out to us. And we may find out that it's nothing. It may be just that it's, the change in schedule for classes, or they're in more extracurricular activities, or maybe they've been up too late studying, which we don't encourage, but it does happen. But it's better to reach out and find out that it's nothing than to think that it's nothing and find out later that it was something. So, if you have a concern about your student, reach out to us. We'll get in contact with them. Hopefully they'll get back to us, and then we can reassure you that everything is fine.
Thank you so much for that response. And I do just want to, I think we have a follow-up for you actually. Is a care team referral from a parent similar to students seeking out services at other quote unquote medical services on campus? So will the parent be informed of the outcome of that referral?
Again, that depends on what the student has allowed us to share with parents. We always encourage you to keep an open line of communication with your student, because we cannot necessarily share everything. If your student has FERPA waived you, and I know that they put information about FERPA in the chat, we can share a little bit more information. But if you haven't been FERPA waived, then all we can share is that we received your referral and we're following up. If you're listed as an emergency contact, and if your student has to be transported to the hospital for some reason, then we will absolutely reach out to you and let you know that. If your student is struggling academically, it's very different when they go to college than when they are in high school. A high school is going to reach out to you. That is not going to happen when they're in college. If your student is not letting you know how they're doing academically, the college is not going to let you know that. So you really want to have that open communication with your student.
Thank you so much, Carrie. And I know one thing that all the folks on here talk about on orientation days is kind of setting up that boundary for communication early, maybe talking to your student now before they even get to college here at Temple. Just talking about what is the expectation for communication and how often do you want to communicate with your student, because it might be different for you versus your student. So kind of figuring that out now is very important. So thank you so much, Carrie. And I did just want to give a reminder to all the participants on here. Please, if you have any questions, our panelists are very open to answer any questions that y'all have. So please feel free to throw those into the Q&A feature and we will make sure we get those answered for you. But thank you all again.
Emily, can I add to that just the importance of having that conversation? Like, if family member support systems parents really are looking to, like traverse this next right stage in life, having a conversation about communication and expectations or FERPA is really important. It kind of helps. It helps us in that dialogue as a precursor to, their experience here at Temple, because to Carrie's point, and that's the federal law, right? There's certain things that we can and cannot share. So we try to encourage those healthy conversations with your student around frequency of communication. If y'all decide that, hey, I'm going to talk to you on the way to class, and I'm going to talk to you on the way after class, and I'm going to talk to you in the room, and that's great. If your student, y'all have established that the only time they're going to talk is when you need to put something in their Cash App or their Venmo, hey, but by all means, right, that's up to you to decide. But having that conversation before they actually start classes here is helpful for sure.
And I know, just to piggyback, and then I'll get back to the questions, but I know that's something that for me during my college experience changed a lot. So my first semester, I was so busy getting involved and all of that. But by my last semester, I was like, Mom, I want to talk to you all the time. So it does change and vary throughout the years. But thank y'all for answering that. All right, our next question is for anybody. What is one thing each of your offices wishes that every Temple student or parent knew about the office? It's a hard question.
I'll start because I really hope that our students and family members know that we're here to help and support them. I know Darian's mentioned it, like we might not have the exact answer that day, but our goal is that if a student raises their hand once to say they need help, That's the only time that they have to raise their hand. And then we do the work behind the scenes to connect the dots and make sure that they get the support and resources that they need. Um, yeah, I think that's one of the things, and Darian mentioned this also, but that is one of the things that I love about working at Temple. So many of us are here because we genuinely care about the students and their experience. So while it can be a big place and a big organization and a little difficult to navigate, all of our areas are spaces where students can come, even if they don't know what their question is, even if they don't know what they need help with, um, just like face to face, over email, phone, schedule an appointment. Like we're available, and we really want to help improve the experience and make it as best as possible for you and your student.
Give space in case anybody else wants to throw anything out there.
I think for the care team, a lot of time, and I guess just for students to be aware that when we reach out, sometimes we're reaching out because someone referred a student to us and we're reaching out to assist the student, but I'm not sure when students get unsolicited phone calls, and it's funny because I don't think students answer their phones, so then we will text. But when students get unsolicited outreach, I think sometimes they're concerned that it's because they're in trouble. And they're thinking that if they're getting an unsolicited outreach from the university, it's not a good thing. So they're not going to respond to it. So I think knowing that when our office is outreaching, it's because we're there as part of this support net that Darian was talking about. And so just making your students aware that if they get an outreach from the care team, that it's a good thing. Like there are people that care about them and want to make sure that they're doing all right. And it's not because they've done anything wrong. And so, you know, it's okay to respond to that and let us know how you're doing and how we can assist you.
Thank you so much, both of you, for answering that question. All right, our next question is also for anybody who wants to answer. Is there any information that could possibly not be shared with a family member, even if they have been FERPA waived?
I could jump in. So it really depends on what the student has shared that they are open to sharing as far as their educational records. But I'll tell you, like things such as like, law enforcement, disciplinary things, or medical records, right, won't get shared. So it really kind of depends on what that student has kind of carved out, can be shared about their educational records. Here at Temple University, the one thing, and I know, and I'll tell you folks, I'm living it in real time because I have a student who is class of 2030 and is starting this fall, is this moving from this, and my words, kind of from this, I want them to be more dependent on me, but they have to be independent because they're technically adults kind of stage, and realizing that institutions are going to want to deal directly with the student, things like that. So it really is in the hands of the student. And I understand the positioning of maybe support system or parent, or any guardian in that, but it really is dependent on what the student wants to be able to or is open to sharing as it relates to their FERPA records.
Thank you. And I also shared a link that relates FERPA back to Temple specifically. So if you have any questions or want to check that out, if you're unsure of what FERPA means or how you can get your student to FERPA waive you or have that conversation, please feel free to check that out. All right, but thank you, Darian, for clarifying that. All right, our next question is for Deanne. You mentioned SNAP earlier. Does the Essential Needs Hub help students apply for SNAP or other benefits like that?
Yeah, we have a fantastic community benefits navigator and a team of social work interns who are ready and willing to meet with students, sit down, really understand what their needs might be, and then refer them to specific resources. And some of those could be benefits like SNAP, WIC, LIHEAP. We know that those systems can be challenging to navigate. So we're there to sit side by side with a student and help walk them through the process, help them determine what they need to upload to submit, and help them with the follow-up. So yes, we're happy to work with students around that.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, my next question is for Carrie. Can you explain what happens after somebody submits a care referral?
Absolutely. So when we receive a care referral, one of our case managers will look it over and determine what steps will need to be taken after that. So it could be, well, first it will be outreach to the student. And after the outreach to the student, we'll determine if that's going to be an email outreach. It's often a phone call. And again, like I said, students don't answer their phones these days. They often don't have their voicemail set up, so that's often followed up by a text. We will reach back out to the referrer if it's not the student and let them know that we received their referral and we're outreaching to the student. And then depending on what the referral is for, it may be that we are connecting the student with appropriate resources. That could be Tubbleman Counseling. It could be the Wellness Resource Center. If it has to do with a student being absent because of a family emergency or a hospitalization, then we'll be making contact with their professors to let them know that. We can only inform professors of absences. We cannot require that professors excuse absences or grant extensions. But I will say that most professors, when we let them know that someone is absent due to a family emergency or a hospitalization, we do not let them know what the hospitalization is for, just that it's a hospitalization. Most professors are very flexible with that. So depending on why the student is referred, we'll then make the determination from there as to what the follow-up steps will be. We always let students know that we are there for continued follow-up if they need it. For some students, it's as simple as doing, like I said, that absence notification, and that's all that they need from us. Some students need longer contact with the care team, and we will continue to do that. And we go from there. And, you know, it may be that we check in with a student a week later to see how they're doing, or it may be that it's that one-time contact. We make sure they have what they need. Students let us know that they're okay, and then the referral is closed out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carrie. All right, our next question is for Darian. What are the biggest challenges that you typically see first-year students facing, and how does your office help them succeed? And this could go for any of the offices, I think, as well.
Now, usually it is that transition, right? It's that first couple of weeks of being in a new environment, whether they are residential or non-residential, trying to get acclimated to Temple University and navigating that, whether it's trying to find their classes to trying to do things that are non-academic, and really trying to find that space. It is a challenging time, and our office really works we have great partners here in the Student Affairs Division to try to make sure that they feel connection. One of the things, and I'll keep saying this over and over again, our weeks of welcome are phenomenal here at Temple University. It is really like a show of our just our best and our wonderful environment here. But what it really does, it shows students what they all have to offer. And what we try to do is reinforce for students that this is, and families too, that this should be an exploratory experience for students. How they might start off, they might change. It might be a change of a major. It might be, looking at a different, student organization, and maybe they did in high school, different things like that. So what we try to do is be a connector or a conduit for those types of things, and make sure that if a student, hey, I want to, become a part of a fraternity or sorority, or I want to learn more about residence life and maybe what it means to be an RA. We try to make sure that we're the connector for those types of things, so that students can immerse themselves here fully at Temple University and get a robust experience. I don't know if anybody else wants to add to the mix. They can probably say it better than I did.
I just wanted to give a shout out for Temple Fest, which is a great place for students to go and find out about all of the different student organizations that we have at campus, different ways to get involved. especially if a student is feeling a little lost and looking for their people. Temple Fest is a great place to find your people.
I get excited for Temple Fest and I'm far removed from undergrad. Like it's just, but it's such a powerful, like to Carrie's point, it's such a powerful experience. It is just full of activity and vibrancy and good energy and just, our colleagues again, yes to yes. Temple Fest is awesome.
I've heard our OWL team leaders say wonderful things about Temple Fest, so please encourage your students to come. All right, our next question is for Deanne. If families wanted to support the Cherry Pantry or the Essential Needs Hub, what is the best way for them to donate or get involved?
Oh, thank you so much for that question, Emily. I think one of the best parts of this kind of endeavor has been the undeniable support that we've received across campus and our Temple community. That's usually the first question that we get asked is, how can I help? How can I support? And I think I say that just to say in general that there is a wide group of individuals who are ready and excited to support your students as they get started here. There are a few different ways that you can support the work that we're doing in the Essential Needs Hub. We are always happy to take financial contributions. That helps us provide the resources that we need around like student emergency aid funding, equipment and materials for our Temple Thrift Outpost, and supplies within the space itself, really thinking about what does it take to operate a space of this size and scope. We also, if food insecurity is something that is near and dear to your heart and your kind of mission, we take direct financial donations to the Cherry Pantry, and we also have an Amazon wish list. If you want to send us some food, we'd love to stock our shelves in that way. As the Essential Needs Hub expands and grows, I know that we're going to have some more ways that folks can do direct outreach and contributions. We had great success last year with the graduation gown regalia program where we collected graduation gowns from previous graduates and then we're able to give them to upcoming graduates and then keep them kind of in the system so that that's not a barrier for folks. I will take all the reusable shopping totes that you have. We ask students to come with a tote, but if you're like me, I always forget my bag when I go to the grocery store. So the more we have on hand that we can give out to students, the better. But please stay tuned. If you're excited about this work, connect with us at the hub at temple.edu or follow us on Instagram. We'll be sure to share more about ways that you can contribute and get involved.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Deanne. I know we were able to get the donation and the wish list in there, but I know Deanne said that there's going to be more opportunities coming up and there were other things that were mentioned. So thank you so much. All right. I have a question for everyone. What is the best way for families to encourage that students use these resources without making them feel like they failed or there's a stigma attached to these services? Essentially, is there a way to ensure students don't feel embarrassed asking for or receiving help?
I can start by saying that within the Essential Needs Hub, a lot of the work that we're doing it specifically with that in mind. We know how hard it is for students, for all of us to ask for help. And so things like the fact that the Cherry Pantry, for example, you can just tap in with your TUID, no questions asked. No one's asking you to upload any type of bill or resource or anything like that. We're really trying to reduce barriers for students to access resources and services. So I guess my advice would be to normalize and encourage this kind of help-seeking behavior. That's actually a sign of growth and development when students can articulate what it is that they need and they're not sure how to solve the problem. And also to remind them that there are people here who are doing this work because we want to be helpful. Like that is what our mission and purpose is. We want to help support your students. So they're not taking time away from us. They're not bothering us. This is why we're here, to help them have a successful and positive experience at the university so they can go on to live these great big lives and do amazing things in our communities and world.
I'll jump in. Deanne said it perfectly. I don't know how much I can really add. Just encourage them to come. We've laid out over this last hour just a multitude of resources, but they can only work if students seek them out, and they connect. And it's hard. I get it. Like trust me, this comes from a person that I hate asking anyone for any type of help. It's difficult, but I would probably say. I don't want to speak for Dan and Carrie, but I know that there's no way in the world I'd be here sitting in front of y'all on the screen if I didn't seek out the help that I needed when I knew I needed it. And it's difficult, especially if you're come in and you're independent and you're used to doing your thing. But higher education is a community effort. It's a collection of folks that rally around our students, right, to help get them from A to B, so they can be successful. So just encourage them to come. You've all heard these things, right? Now we and there are tons of links and there are resources that we'll continue to share with you. You will get tons of information. If you haven't, you probably already know about the parents at temple.edu email address, but just NSFP, New Student and Family Programs, does a phenomenal job communicating out and receiving in. Just stay abreast of those conversations. And if you hear a student that says, "Hey, I need this thing," ask them, did you reach out? Did I heard this on this webinar, or I saw the other webinars. And like, it's okay to support in that way. I think that it is hard moving from that dependent and independent stage, but being a support mechanism for your student by way of saying, "Hey, I remember hearing this thing, did you seek it out?" helps us tremendously. So it's hard to help what we don't know. So please encourage them to come and use the resources that we have available to them.
And just to piggyback on that, we have so many resources in the Essential Need Hub that if we can get students in the door to see the resources. So for example, maybe somebody comes in to see the Zen Den. And then once they're in there, they're like, oh, like the Cherry Pantry is just kind of, it's there and people are using it and nobody's judging anybody. And also just remind them, the Cherry Pantry isn't just there for students, faculty and staff use it as well. We have the Temple Thrift Store in there, and thrifting is cool. Like thrifting is a thing now, it's in. So I think it's just, if we can just get them in the door, and even if that's having them come in to use some of the other services and then see the services that we offer that maybe they felt were kind of stigmatized, and then they see that once they're in there, they're not stigmatized at all.
Thank you all so much. And I'd also say to parents and families on this call, like, you being here is already such a wonderful start, because being in any of these webinars and learning about these resources and being able to properly communicate those to your students and just share, like, if your student has an issue, go here. I just heard about this wonderful place and these wonderful people, and everyone here is so willing to support your student and just excited to do so too, not just willing. So please, yeah, send them to anybody on this call or anybody you've heard in these webinars, and we are happy to help. I just want to emphasize that. But thank you all for answering. All right, our next question, I know we have a couple minutes, I'm going to try to squeeze in a couple more, is for everyone. Do any of your offices offer opportunities for students to work to support what you do? So for example, are there paid positions, internships, or volunteer opportunities to get them to work experience in your areas?
Yes,
Yes.
and yes.
Always looking for a student to be part of the team and be a good face for our office. So and get some good professional development while they're at it. So, and yes, they are paid positions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add that in the Essential Needs Hub, we've hired over 30 student employees to work with us to get started in the fall semester. And that ranges from really kind of front desk navigation support to helping keep our pantry stocked to serving as a part of a practicum for our social work students. So really a range of experiences depending on kind of where your student is in their professional progression and what their needs might be academically. But our goal really is to embed that student experience into the work across the Division of Student Affairs. So you'll see students, peers are part of this process and part of the Temple ecosystem. And if your student's looking for work, if they haven't had luck on the, job posting sites, please encourage them to think about like where they might be excited to work and go in and talk to someone and drop off their resume, because Oftentimes there are a lot of materials that come through and it can be hard. It can be a little bit of a numbers game for our students, but getting to meet someone one-on-one and hearing why they might be excited to work in the office or in the space can really make a difference.
Yes,
And then
thank you all.
also, an office that's under the Dean of Students office is Disability Resources and Services, and they're always looking for students to run the front desk there, and that includes students who qualify for federal work study funds.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for answering that question. Yes, definitely a lot of opportunities. So please feel free to send your students to any of these offices. All right, our next question is also for everyone. I know Carrie answered it a little bit, but as a parent, what signs should I look for or that my student might need additional support from any of your areas?
I'll jump in. I think, earlier we talked a little bit about kind of setting up some communication norms for your parent or for your student in the supporting community there. I think if you see an extreme change in that, that's something definitely to pick up on and let us know about. So if you're used to talking to your student a couple of times a day, that turns into once a week or once a month, and that just doesn't feel like typical. I would say communication is something that would definitely be something to kind of put forward to us for sure.
Yeah, and I would just add it, like if you sometimes silence can be really a clue to what's going on. That doesn't mean if the answer's short or the response is like kind of quiet, it doesn't mean that everything's okay. So use that as a clue. Um, Similarly, like if you had FERPA access and then all of a sudden you call and they let you know you're not FERPA waived or you can't access information, that's a clue also to have a conversation with your student because it means that they've changed their mind about the type of access that you have, and would be a good opportunity to have a discussion.
Thank you. All right, I know we're running a little low on time, so our last question for y'all is going to be, do you have a final piece of advice for parents and family members as their student begins their journey at Temple? I love this question. I know it's a hard one to end on because there's probably so many pieces of advice you have, but
I would say that not every student's journey is the same. And I think sometimes we could look and say, okay, it's supposed to look like this and happen in this amount of time and happen in this kind of way. And to be honest, it is exploratory. I will and just poor Deanna and Carrie know they get sick of my stories, but I guess this is just the stage of life that I'm in. But I remember starting school as an accounting major, finishing as an economics major. I came in playing football. I did not finish playing football. Changed my major. I wound up finishing in 5 years instead of four. I was an RA. Like life can change during those 4 or 5 or whatever years that a student is pursuing their higher education. So I think that's it's not a monolith, right? And life along with that happens, right? So it's I think just being able to through the support piece, also keeping an open mind that it is exploratory. And while, we want our students to finish, we want them to finish well. We want them to be able to experience as much of Temple University as they can, but it's not cookie cutter, right? It's not the same experience for every student. So it's probably a little bit of it advice that I can share in the most salient way that I can.
I think I would just add, as best as you can to encourage your student to take some risks. I've really seen that our students grow and develop so much when they live in that space that's like a little uncomfortable. They're trying something new. They put themselves out there in a way maybe um, that is unusual for them, or they're trying something a little bit differently. And I think that's really where you see a lot of the growth and development for our students is that, maybe it's that they're going to try studying abroad or they're going to eat with someone that they don't usually eat with. It can be big or small. But start building up that like risk-taking skills in moderation, of course, but thinking about there's just so much to explore and so much that's offered here at the university that students won't have access to it if they don't seek it out a little bit and push themselves to try some new things.
Thank you.
Oh, those are hard ones to follow. I think for me, it's to encourage your student to use all of the resources that are available. And I'm not just talking, I mean, we talked about some amazing resources here today as support resources, but not just that. And this feeds into a little bit about the taking risks, but we have over 200 clubs on campus. They're going to have opportunities to participate in research. They're going to have opportunities, like Deanne said, to study abroad, volunteer opportunities, going to a Phillies game. Just there's so many things that they'll have the opportunity to do, and not to overextend themselves, because that's always a risk as well, but just to know that once you get out into the quote unquote real world, there are things that you won't be able to do. Like you won't be able to do that study abroad thing, or, you know, spring break with your friends or things like that. So take advantage of the opportunities and resources that are here at Temple, because once you graduate, you may not have those opportunities again.
Yes, thank you all so much again, and again, just for being here. We really appreciate it. But unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you all so much again for joining us, and you'll see everyone's contact information up on the screen. They're all more than willing to answer any follow-up questions y'all may have, so feel free to, if you didn't ask your question today, feel free to send it to them and they'll get that answered for you. But in addition, we will post the recording to this session in the Orientation Hub in the Parent and Family Experience portal shortly for your reference. And of course, virtual parent and family orientation is continuing. We do have, I know it says previous panels, we do have one more coming up in August that you can see on our Parent and Family Experience portal. So feel free to register for that, but we also have all of those previous panels up there, and we have a lot of campus partners that we've met with. So if you want information from any of them, feel free to look at their webinars, and their contact information is in those as well. But lastly, we will also send you a survey shortly to ask how today's session has helped you as you prepare for your student to attend Temple in the fall. So please take a few minutes to let us know your thoughts. But thank you all again so much for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.